Hello, hello, hello. This is Tando from Cosmic Spark, and I'm back with another video. This is going to be what I love about Capricorn, the sea goat. Oh my god. My god. I love so many things about all the cardinal signs, firstly. Okay, let's talk about basics. Capricorn is the 10th sign of the zodiac. Capricorn hails the last quadrant of the zodiac, which is more about spirituality, the world, society, spiritual consciousness, and how we can be in service, right, to the community, the world at large, the greater unconscious. So, Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Um, Saturn is considered to be the father in astrology, the male. It's a male planet, it's a male principle, but definitely the father. In that restrictive way, it's why people don't enjoy their Saturn returns, because it feels like a punishment, but it's supposed to be a loving thing that gets you on this other side and gets you to be, much more aware of who you are and where you stand, and gets you to cut off what you don't need. So Saturn can be quite harsh, and to be ruled by Saturn can feel quite harsh. And I think Capricorns can feel that about their lives. They can feel a lot of heaviness, or like they've gone through so much just to get to anywhere that they need to go. And yeah, that's very normal. What do they say? The goat climbs to the highest mountain. Capricorns, what I love about them is also Saturn, masculine, Capricorn's earth element, which makes it feminine. So there is a little bit of a mixture there, which is lovely. Yes, what I love about them. Capricorns are very driven. They are very driven to the extent of no matter how many times they fail, they will pick themselves back up. So very hardworking. They have their eye on the prize, and they're not always, as they are depicted to be, these sort of like money hungry, or like people that care specifically or exclusively about status. I think that is an aspect of them, but I think for some of them, it's about them wanting to achieve stability depending on whatever their background is, and then them wanting to cultivate a life that is fully whole. So they want to make a good amount of money to live the life that they want to live. They want to be able to have time out to exercise and do hobbies. I've met so many Capricorns that have a lot of hobbies, and they just do a lot in general. They're just here, there, and yonder. And I think optimally, a Capricorn is driven for whatever they deem to be success in a career, but it's not their main driver isn't to attain hierarchical success. It is more about being able to fund a life that supports them. And also because Capricorns really, so in Capricorn, we're looking at society. If we look at the opposite sign of Cancer, we're looking at the family. But in Capricorn, we revere the family, but we're looking at how we can contribute to society. So a Capricorn in their highest expression is wanting to work really hard, to attain something, but because they see value in what they're working for. Whatever they're working for would help the next person, or would help shape society to be bigger and better and greater. I've met a lot of Capricorns across different industries, and one thing about them is they care. No matter how stoic they may seem, especially if you don't speak to them one-on-one and you don't really know them, they can come across as cold depending on the Capricorn. But it's more just that they're not the type to just fake interest in people. And so once you get to know them, you realize that they're very easy to get along with. They're actually really chill in a lot of respects. Where they might not be chill is maybe how they conduct their own lives, the standards that they have for themselves, and what they're supposed to be reaching and when. So they can be very harsh and restrictive in that way. But also, a lot of Capricorns, male and female, were raised in home environments where they had to assume a role where they were heavily responsible for something. If they were the male, they could have been there could have been a man in the house or not a man in the house, but they certainly felt like they had to be that man of the house from such an early age. If they're a Capricorn woman, they might have been basically they might have had all this responsibility put on them by their family to do these chores and work and put money here, and like they might have had really restrictive upbringings, and so it is what causes them to actually have a lot of self-restraint and a lot of restrictions that come from the way that they were raised and the way that they think. It's why they're very, very old souls when they're young. I've never met a Capricorn that didn't feel like an old soul to me. And as someone who identifies as an old soul, it's like I could see them. And as someone who I identify as someone who was parentified when I was younger. So having all that responsibility put on you when you're a child can definitely make you relate to your peers very differently across every stage of life. And so I've always enjoyed Capricorns because they really understand what it is to be responsible, and it's it feels like it's something that comes naturally to them. Obviously, it's a learned behavior, like it has been a learned behavior for me, but it feels natural to them. So if you're someone who is more responsible, you can get along with a Capricorn because they will understand when you want to, like I can't really talk right now, like I'm really focused on this task, this goal, and I just need to step back and then we can come back. Like they would be the kinds of people that would really understand whatever your responsibilities are. They're not going to make you feel bad for them because they have had a lot of responsibilities put on them, and they know what it's like to need to and want to show up. Apart from that, though, I mean, that's obviously the classic Capricornian trait, isn't it? But Capricorns are so, so, so very creative. And I think generally and genuinely, feminine energy is very creative. And because they are an earth sign and have that feminine energy within them, it makes them very creative. So many Capricorns will have a day job, but will be like, I'm an artist on the side, or I'm a yoga teacher, or whatever it is. And so they really get to express their creativity. And I don't think they let themselves, especially in their higher expressions, they don't deny that aspect of themselves no matter what they do in their day job. If that job doesn't require them to use a lot of their creative energies, they will be using them anyway. One of the things I adore about cardinal signs across the board is how busy they are and how much they have hobbies, and I would say that as a cardinal sign. And so to speak to another cardinal sign is to understand someone who wants to delve and indulge and try different things. And look, Capricorns are definitely like quality over quantity. So they're not going to just be doing things for the sake of doing them. But because they're a cardinal sign, they aren't afraid to try new things. But because the sea goat, Capricorns can be cautious, what they choose to try is like very specific and based on whatever little value system that they have, because they don't want to jump into something that ends up jeopardizing another aspect of their life that they've fully lined up to be a particular kind of way. Capricorns have a fantastic sense of humor. Dry wit. Just dry wit is the Capricornian way. Like they can be sometimes surly. Yeah, there are negatives to it, but I'm talking specifically what I love about them, and I love their sense of humor. I love their sense of humor. I love how intelligent that they are. I could talk to a Capricorn all day about so many different topics, and I think they're very open-minded to having discussions about things. Um, they have a very strong value system, and so you may not be able to win them over with your opinion, depending on what it is, because they have their own innate guidance system. But I think they're very willing to have discussions, and they're willing to be put in different situations so long as it doesn't disrupt their little box that they like to put themselves in. I also look at Capricorn as a sign that really values tradition, values the past, and I have that energy within me as well. I am someone who enjoys the past, but I have a lot of 11th house energy, so I love enjoying the past and also thinking about how we can incorporate the great elements of the past and take it into the future, but also change the elements that we don't like and make it more feasible for future generations to enjoy, right? Based on as the value systems kind of change over time. And I think Capricorns are a really, really good example of that. Capricorns dress, you might see it in the way that they dress, or you might see it like when you have a relationship with them or a friendship with them, that they have sort of quite old-fashioned values, maybe about who pays for a date, or what person in society is supposed to do this. And it tends to be quite traditional values, or like gender normative. Not always, but it can be. There's something traditional and like old-timey about it. But at the same time, it's not to say that I've met Capricorns and just felt like they had like, oh, they're an old soul and they just seem so old and they seem stuck in the past. No, a lot of Capricorns take those elements and they make them, I think, like newer and fresher for your current generation. They can reflect to you the beauty of the past and have you reminisce and get nostalgic and get inspired by the way that they're not moved by what you think of the fact that they embrace the past in those ways. They just are. I feel like Capricorns just exist. Like they just, in that earthy way where they just kind of, they don't feel the need to have airs about them. They don't feel the need to perform for you. They just kind of exist in that feminine kind of flowy way. And that means that when the goat needs time to be sad, depressed, cynical in private, they will go away and privately go through whatever they're going through silently. And you wait for them, hope to hear from them, or if you're lucky, they'll tell you beforehand. And then you can just sit in it and wait for them to come back out. I think to be a Capricorn, you can't be afraid to fail, but it might be something that younger Capricorns have to overcome, because a Capricorn in their highest expression just keeps climbing that mountain no matter how steep it is, okay? And so whatever their larger goals are of what they want to attain in this life, they will keep going no matter how much time they need to sometimes be reclusive. You just got to let them do what they got to do. The whole sea goat, which is sort of the totem animal of a Capricorn, combines earthy elements with watery elements, which is all just feminine energy, but it's combining that earthy practicality with the watery creativity and with the watery creativity. But Capricorns sometimes need help accessing their emotions or working through their emotions. And I think all earth signs do to some extent. There is an aspect of the emotional world that all earth signs can sometimes want to pretend doesn't exist. Like they want to just barrel through sometimes instead of letting themselves sit in it. And so when a Capricorn is more evolved, they are someone who's very emotionally receptive. They understand people emotionally, which also can this can also contribute to them being really good leaders, because Capricorn being a cardinal sign makes them natural leaders. And I find Capricorns really, really good and fun and amazing to work with. They are hardworking. You can easily look up to them because the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the physical things that they're doing at the workplace. But the amazing thing is, because I think Capricorns sometimes even underestimate how awesome they are. Like they're so humble, like they're not always going to be going out. In fact, for the most part, the ones that I've met, they don't go out of their way to be like, I am amazing. They just exist. They just prove it in being. And then you take so much inspiration from that, because you're like, oh my God, this person just goes. This person didn't let this thing defeat them. And this person is really, really good to talk to about my emotions, because they understand, even if they have their own ways of processing their emotions behind the scenes. I think Capricorns are very open, and I enjoy being around them because of that. I've rarely met a Capricorn that I thought was like super close-minded, just as in general as a person. But yeah, that family-oriented aspect of themselves means that they really want to create something traditional, something that fulfills them in that way. And so sometimes you find that they work really hard, maybe to give money to their family, or they work really, really hard and they hope to find a classic partner for them. A lot of Capricorns could be really attracted to someone quite like significantly younger than them or significantly older than them, depending on whether they're gay, straight, young, old, whatever their background is. There is some sort of age element. Sometimes they're looking for someone older than them so that they can feel understood with all that maturity that they carry, and also maybe feel like they don't always have to be the responsible one all the time, or they can look for someone younger than them so that they can lead and they can nurture someone through their own maturity. It just depends. But Capricorns are really loyal. They are loyal in the way that most earth signs are. They will stick to you. And so if you have value in their life and you contribute to their well-being in some sort of way, if you're a Capricorn, if you started dating a Capricorn, the likelihood that this person would be swayed, thank you spirit, would be easily swayed by other people outside of the relationship, other people outside of you, is not very common. It's only if maybe it no longer serves them for you to be in their life. Some people are there for a reason or a season, and even I think sometimes with cardinal energies, we can make really, really good friends, but because we're used to starting and stopping things, or we're not scared of change, it can mean that sometimes if we evaluate that you're no longer fitting this aspect of our lives or this next stage of our lives, we can let things go. But they're ruled by Saturn, so there's like a natural longevity there too. So even though I'm saying that, yeah, they might let you go, but the likelihood, they're not going to do that with everyone, nor are they going to do that on a regular basis, because that Capricornian energy gives them that staying power. They want to be able to do things for the long haul. One of the other things that I love about Capricorns is they get like more childlike as they age, and they age backwards physically, and I think even in their entire aura. And as I say again, as someone who feels like an old soul, I did feel like childhood was like labor to me. It's like a crazy thing to say, but like it's true. Being a child, yeah, I had some child memories like other children had, where we were playing and whatever. But I felt like a lot of my childhood, I was being responsible as a child, or I was having to think about adult things. And so I see that in Capricorns too. And I think as they age and just have more life experience, they start to ease up. They ease up on themselves, they ease up on everything. And I think it kind of lifts all this energy off of them, and they look visually to be aging backwards. And I think that's amazing. Because Capricorns are an earth sign. Oh, Jesus. Because Capricorns are an earth sign, it gives a sensuality to the way that they engage with the world and the way that they like to be, or even the way that they move through the world. And I've had much more experience with Capricorn women, so I can only talk about Capricorn men in like an archetypal way. But with Capricorn women, they may not be that sort of like Leonine way of like when you're a Leo and you're just kind of like on the prowl, and like everyone can see that you're feeling sexy and you're like in that energy. Whereas I feel like Capricorn women just like go about their day and don't realize that their way that they talk or the way that they're being is sensual in its own right. And so they can garner a lot of attention, sometimes unwanted, because like I said, Capricorn is about quality over quantity. And so they can get way more attention than they want because they're alluring. What wouldn't you like about a woman who looks sexy, works hard, has a group of friends or whatever, has a lot of hobbies, is family oriented at the end of the day? Like, what part of that would a man not like? But to get a Capricorn woman, you have got to prove yourself. They're not just going to fall into, I think Capricorns in general don't fall into partnership easily. They really value their independence. And because they are goal oriented, they're much more focused on where they're going to than necessarily romantic things. It doesn't mean that they're immune to feeling the want or like the urge, or like maybe when they've been single for a long time, oh my God, why aren't I partnered? But I think they largely would be able to manage that really well because they'll just focus on their goals. And when it comes, that kind of energy. Capricorn men are also similarly traditional, wanting to be the provider. That is why they work so hard. They want to be a provider for the woman that they're with. They want to be a provider for their families. And obviously, they want to provide service to the greater community, right? But something that I have heard about Capricorn men, not experienced myself, is that Capricorn men like to be, you know, in typical Capricornian fashion, elegant, classy. It's giving demure, just a classic man, the classic man that I was talking about in the Sagittarius video. That is the Capricorn. They dress really well. It could be in an older style, but if it's not, it's just classic in the way that it's styled, in the color palette, that sort of thing. And just because they want you to be a certain kind of way outside, they also want you to be elegant and classy. They don't want, Capricorns aren't likely to be interested in a person who's considered ratchet or someone who's like loud and brash and crass. It's not that they don't want personality either, but they kind of want you to have like an elegance about the way that you present. But it's not to say that they want you to have an elegance in the bedroom, okay? Because Capricorns get down and dirty, okay? They are clean in the streets and freaks in the sheets. So I've heard. I'm yet to experience it, so I was going to say holla at me, but please don't. Please. I might say something and regret it. And have all these DMs. But yes, what else? So sexually maybe a bit more depraved or adventurous than you would imagine when you meet them. But for you to graduate to be able to see that, you've got to earn it a little bit. Capricorn, I don't know why I didn't say this earlier, is a hedonist as a sign. They do enjoy a bit of hedonism, no matter how they look, no matter how much they are said that they like to present or like to be sort of societally acceptable in some ways. They're hedonistic, and I'm hedonistic. And so when I have friends that are Capricorns, we can really kind of amp each other up in that way, or even understand the escapism within each other or the hedonism within each other. And so, yeah, that is everything that I can think of that I love about the sign of Capricorn. I think if you're a Capricorn watching this, firstly, like, you are so much more amazing than you give yourself credit for. You work so hard, and life only gets better for you as you age. You only feel more ease and more like you can just relax, and that's really amazing. If you want to date a Capricorn, don't force them into anything. Feel free to approach first if you like, but don't pressure them. Keep it light, but also show a genuine interest in them. Show that you're not vapid. And stay consistent, because they're an earth sign and they're consistent. So you stay consistent, and that will be very attractive to a Capricorn. If you've got any thoughts, any additions, please say them in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.